So a few years ago, I had a friend who was 5 years older than me. She was a person who liked to go out with her friends until it would be pretty late at night. Sometimes, she didn't even go back to her own apartment, and she would stay overnight at some friend's house. Her actions were questionable to me at that age. She said I'd understand why once I reached high school. So anyway, let's call her Lana for now. To put it simply, Lana was she was really confident to express herself freely towards the people around her. She had a way with them, and she made friends really easily. Not only that, but she was also really pretty that she liked jumping from guy to guy in relationships. Or maybe those weren't even relationships at all. I mean, they didn't sound serious to me. Sometimes, she would spend nights in some guy's house, though, and she'd mention different names every once in a while. There was barely a day when I didn't see her with a guy. And I didn't have to ask what she did. She gave me hints which were enough for me to understand. Then I realized that she hadn't been around for a couple of months, nor had she texted or called me or anyone else really. I asked about her to some of her friends, and they also didn't know what happened until one day. One of her friends told me that Lana apparently got into some serious trouble, and she wouldn't come and hang out with us anymore at our usuals. I remember the last thing we were talking about, though, was how she was getting close to this one guy from that group of friends we were meeting up with, and she was staying over at his house that weekend. But that was it, though. To state the obvious, something must have happened to her from then on. We received absolutely no news about her for like a year and a half. Later on, another friend of ours told me some surprising news. First, it was that Lana dropped out of college and moved out of the country. Second, that she had contracted HIV through needles, I think, when she was injecting heroin to herself. Or it could be through having unprotected sex. I mean, she did both anyway, and it was apparent, though, that she also did get pregnant, but chose to have an abortion. I felt kind of upset after finding out what happened, though it didn't really affect me all too much. I mean, I got the message that, yeah, she was pretty reckless, and she did tell me that I would understand, especially now that I reached high school. But that wasn't the only thing I understood. I got why she left us in the end, and now I wonder how she feels. Maybe she feels upset and ashamed and regretting her actions now. Or maybe she's moved on and gotten over that, but who knows? Anyway, I figured this could be a lesson that people could learn from. Now, some of you might ask, what exactly is HIV? Well, HIV stands for Human Immunodeficiency Virus, which can develop into AIDS, which stands for Acquired Immune Deficiency Syndrome. This isn't a virus that could be cured so easily, and apparently, a common way to be infected with the virus is through sharing infected needles or through sexual contact, which were the two things that Lana had experienced before she was contracted with HIV. Now, what this virus does to you, though, is that it attacks white blood cells, or certain ones, which shuts down your immune system. So as your condition worsens, it also weakens you, slowly but surely. Kind of like how a Pokemon's HP bar decreases a bit each round when it's poisoned until it faints. Now, most of the time when a person's infected with HIV, they would show certain symptoms. They might dry cough a lot, like when people have a sore throat, or they might have trouble breathing, or they might get fever and cold sweat, and they get tired easily. They might have diarrhea and lose weight really quickly from that, but who knows? Some people who have HIV, they might not even have these symptoms, since, well, they could be found in other illnesses, so let's not jump into conclusions just yet. If you think you've been reckless with your behavior that's kind of similar like what Lana did, and you're also developing some of those symptoms, then maybe you should go for a test at a hospital or some organization that could help you out. But it takes a while for HIV antibodies to develop, so if you take it early, it might come out negative for you. However, if you do take it and get HIV positive, then you're pretty much infected for life. Give it about 2 to 12 weeks. Now, with Lana's situation, we have no idea whether or not she's now diagnosed with AIDS, since it takes some time for a person to develop AIDS. It could range from months to even years. However, we do know that this virus she's got is going to be a lifelong medical condition, and she'll have to suffer through it, unless, of course, we find a cure. But the problem is, there is no cure for AIDS, and if there was a cure, well, we haven't discovered it yet. However, there are some treatments and medicine that we can use for HIV, and people can take them so it helps their bodies resist and slow down the growth of the virus. At the least, well, that delays the process of you dying, but it's still killing you though. It just takes a bit longer. Honestly, it'd be great if people stopped being so reckless. I mean, nobody wants to contract HIV or AIDS. We're already dying as we live, but having this disease makes life a lot more dreadful, and it's definitely speeding up our mortality rate. If the stuff Lana did is fun to you as well, then at least use clean disinfected needles or maybe a different kind of drug for starters. Hey, have safe sex too, because like, hey, buying or wearing a condom, that wouldn't hurt, you know. And if the guy says no to wearing a condom and pulls out a bunch of excuses as to why, then don't even think about moving past third base with him. Or maybe just don't do drugs in general, or don't have sex with every single guy or girl you see. Apparently, there's been more cases with contracting HIV through anal sex, so if you do want to have sex, go ahead, just not in there. I don't mean to say what Lana did was wrong, but I'll draw the line on making a fair judgment though. There's been a lot of cases like this, and Lana's just one of them, and we saw the outcome of it, so I'm just saying. It probably made her life worse. Let's try and make our life less troublesome, so let's just play safe.